The original attitude of the American Indian toward the eternal, the great mystery, that surrounds and embraces us, was as simple as it was exalted. To him it was the supreme conception, bringing with it the fullest measure of joy and satisfaction possible in this life. The worship of the great mystery was silent, solitary, free from all self-seeking. It was silent because all speech is of necessity feeble and imperfect. Therefore, the souls of my ancestors ascended to God in wordless adoration. It was solitary because they believed that He is nearer to us in solitude, and there were no priests authorized to come between a man and his Maker. None might exhort or confess or in any way meddle with the religious experience of another. Among us all men were created sons of God and stood erect, as conscious of their divinity. Our faith might not be formulated in creeds nor forced upon any who were unwilling to receive it, hence there was no preaching, proselytizing, or persecution, neither were there any scoffers or atheists. There were no temples or shrines among us save those of nature. Being a natural man, the Indian was intensely poetical. He would deem it sacrilege to build a house for him who may be met face to face in the mysterious, shadowy aisles of the primeval forest, or on the sunlit bosom of virgin prairies, upon dizzy spires and pinnacles of naked rock, and yonder in the jeweled vault of the night sky. He who enrobes himself in filmy veils of cloud, there on the rim of the visible world where our great-grandfather's sun kindles his evening campfire, he who rides upon the rigorous wind of the north, or breathes forth his spirit upon aromatic southern airs, whose war canoe is launched upon majestic rivers and inland seas, he needs no lesser cathedral. That solitary communion with the unseen which was the highest expression of our religious life is partly described in the word hambade, literally mysterious feeling, which may be interpreted as consciousness of the divine. The first hambade, or religious retreat, marked an epoch in the life of the youth. Having first prepared himself by means of the purifying vapor bath, and cast off as far as possible all human or fleshly influences, the young man sought out the noblest height, the most commanding summit in all the surrounding region. Knowing that God sets no value upon material things, he took with him no offerings or sacrifices other than symbolic objects, such as paints and tobacco. Wishing to appear before him in all humility, he wore no clothing save his moccasins and breech-clout. At the solemn hour of sunrise or sunset he took up his position, overlooking the glories of earth and facing the great mystery, and there he remained, naked, erect, silent, and motionless, exposed to the elements and forces of his arming, for a night and a day to 2 days and nights, but rarely longer. Sometimes he would chant a hymn without words, or offer the ceremonial, filled pipe. In this holy trance or ecstasy the Indian mystic found his highest happiness and the motive power of his existence. When he returned to the camp, he must remain at a distance until he had again entered the vapor bath and prepared himself for intercourse with his fellows. Of the vision or sign vouchsafed to him he did not speak, unless it had included some commission which must be publicly fulfilled. Sometimes an old man, standing upon the brink of eternity, might reveal to a chosen few the oracle of his long-past youth. The Native American has been generally despised by his white conquerors for his poverty and simplicity. They forget, perhaps, that his religion forbade the accumulation of wealth and the enjoyment of luxury. To him, as to other single-minded men in every age and race, from Diogenes to the brothers of St. Francis, from the Montanists to the Shakers, the love of possessions has appeared a snare, and the burdens of a complex society a source of needless peril and temptation. Furthermore, it was the rule of his life to share the fruits of his skill and success with his less fortunate brothers. Thus, he kept his spirit free from the clog of pride, cupidity, or envy, and carried out, as he believed, the divine decree, a matter profoundly important to him. It was not, then, wholly from ignorance or improvidence that he failed to establish permanent towns and to develop a material civilization. To the untutored sage, the concentration of population was the prolific mother of all evils, moral no less than physical. He argued that food is good, while surfeit kills, that love is good, but lust destroys, and not less dreaded than the pestilence following upon crowded and unsanitary dwellings was the loss of spiritual power inseparable from too close contact with one's fellow men. All who have lived much out of doors know that there is a magnetic and nervous force that accumulates in solitude and that is quickly dissipated by life in a crowd. Even his enemies have recognized the fact that for a certain innate power and self-poise, wholly independent of circumstances, the American Indian is unsurpassed among men. The red man divided mind into two parts, the spiritual mind and the physical mind. The first is pure spirit, concerned only with the essence of things, and it was this he sought to strengthen by spiritual prayer, during which the body is subdued by fasting and hardship. In this type of prayer there was no beseeching of favor or help. All matters of personal or selfish concern, as success in hunting or warfare, relief from sickness, or the sparing of a beloved life, were definitely relegated to the plane of the lower or material mind, and all ceremonies, charms, or incantations designed to secure a benefit or to avert a danger, were recognized as emanating from the physical self. The rites of this physical worship, again, were wholly symbolic, and the Indian no more worshipped the sun than the Christian adores the cross. The elements and majestic forces in nature, lightning, wind, water, fire, and frost, were regarded with awe as spiritual powers, but always secondary and intermediate in character. He believed that the spirit pervades all creation and that every creature possesses a soul in some degree, though not necessarily a soul conscious of itself. The tree, the waterfall, the grizzly bear, each is an embodied force, and as such an object of reverence. The Indian loved to come into sympathy and spiritual communion with his brothers of the animal kingdom, whose inarticulate souls had for him something of the sinless purity that we attribute to the innocent and irresponsible child. He had faith in their instincts, as in a mysterious wisdom given from above, and while he humbly accepted the supposedly voluntary sacrifice of their bodies to preserve his own, he paid homage to their spirits in prescribed prayers and offerings. In every religion there is an element of the supernatural, varying with the influence of pure reason over its devotees. The Indian was a logical and clear thinker upon matters within the scope of his understanding, but he had not yet charted the vast field of nature or expressed her wonders in terms of science. With his limited knowledge of cause and effect, he saw miracles on every hand, the miracle of life in seed and egg, the miracle of death in lightning flash and in the swelling deep. Nothing of the marvelous could astonish him, as that a beast should speak, or the sun stand still. The virgin birth would appear scarcely more miraculous than is the birth of every child that comes into the world, or the miracle of the loaves and fishes excite more wonder than the harvest that springs from a single ear of corn. The logical man must either deny all miracles or none, and our American Indian myths and hero stories are perhaps, in themselves, quite as credible as those of the Hebrews of old. If we are of the modern type of mind, that sees in natural law a majesty and grandeur far more impressive than any solitary infraction of it could possibly be, let us not forget that, after all, science has not explained everything. We have still to face the ultimate miracle, the origin and principle of life. Here is the supreme mystery that is the essence of worship, without which there can be no religion, and in the presence of this mystery our attitude cannot be very unlike that of the natural philosopher, who beholds with awe the divine in all creation. The Indian did not, so long as his native philosophy held sway over his mind, either envy or desire to imitate the splendid achievements of the white man. In his own thought he rose superior to them. He scorned them, even as a lofty Native American wisdom. Trouble no man about his religion, respect him in his view of the Great Spirit, and demand of him that he respect yours. Do not force your religion on anyone. Wabasha Santee Sioux. The Great Spirit sketches out the path of life roughly for all the creatures on earth, shows them where to go, where to arrive at, but leaves them to find their own way to get there. He wants them to act independently according to their nature. Lame Deer Lakota. We do not worship creation. We worship the Great Spirit in the creation He has made. Pete Catches Sr. Lakota. For the Great Spirit is everywhere. He hears whatever is in our minds and hearts, and it is not necessary to speak to Him in a loud voice. Black Elk Oglala Sioux. We each have a duty to cast out our doubt, to turn aside our ignorance, and to realize that the creative principle, the great mystery, is within ourselves. Diani Iwahu Cherokee. This center which is here, but which we know is really everywhere, is Wakantanka. Black Elk. There is no word for God. We call it a great mystery, because of its formlessness. Diani Iwahu children are taught to go directly to the source of the great mystery. In order that knowledge does not get separated from experience or wisdom from divinity, wait and listen. Do not ask why. A child that cannot sit still is a half-developed child. Luther Standing Bear Lakota Sioux. You don't ask questions when you grow up. You watch and listen and wait, and the answer will come to you. It's yours then, not like learning in school. Larry Bird Carice. I was raised not to ask why, but to listen, become aware. I take for granted that people have some knowledge of themselves. That is religion. Soj Track Taos Pueblo. My father went on talking to me in a low voice. That is how our people always talk to their children, so low and quiet, the child thinks he is dreaming. But he never forgets. Maria Chona Papago. Grown men may learn from very little children, for the hearts of little children are pure, and, therefore, the Great Spirit may show to them many things which older people miss. Black Elk. Without spiritual practice, confusion reigns. Diani Iwahu. No one will tell you how to pray, how to live. You must prepare yourselves, you have to find yourselves. Matthew King Lakota. Do not wrong or hate your neighbor, for it is not him that you wrong yourself. No one will tell you how to pray, how to live. You must prepare yourselves, you have to find yourselves. Thomas Wildcat Alfred Shawnee. We Indians know the one true God, and we pray to Him continually. Black Elk. Whatever our tribe, our language, our race, our culture, there is one truth, one reality, that unites us as people. Diani Iwahu. The two are really only one. It is only the ignorant person who sees many where there is really only one. Black Elk. Sin is trespass against the laws of the Great Spirit. It brings its own punishment, for sin is its own punishment. Wabasha. To still the mind is very important, so that you may truly know yourself. Diani Iwahu. I am blind and do not see the things of this world, but when the light comes from above, it enlightens my heart and I can see, for the eye of my heart sees everything, and through this vision I can help my people. The heart is a sanctuary at the center of which there is a little space, wherein the Great Spirit dwells, and this is the eye. This is the eye of the Great Spirit by which He sees all things, and through which we see Him. If the heart is not pure, the Great Spirit cannot be seen. Black Elk. To see our work as prayer and an opportunity to bring forth a flash of truth is a great gift. To know that even the busy world is a holy world is quite a change of heart. Dianiyawahu. First responsibility, to know yourself, understand your own mind. Dianiyawahu. It does not require many words to speak the truth. Chief Joseph Nez Perce. The first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of men when they realize their relationship, their oneness, with the universe and all its powers, and when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells Wakantanka, and that this center is really everywhere, it is within each of us. This is the real peace, and the others are but reflections of this. The second piece is that which is made between two individuals, and the third is that which is made between two nations. But above all, you should understand that there can never be peace between nations until there is first known that true peace which, as I have often said, is within the souls of men. Black Elk. By prayer and fasting and fixed purpose, you can rule your own spirit. Wabasha. Essentially, there is one truth underlying our attempts to describe what is indescribable. Dianiyawahu. Remember your nothingness in the presence of the Great Spirit. Black Elk. Every man should have his own holy place where he keeps lonely vigil, hearkens for the voices, and offers prayer and praise. Wabasha. True wisdom is only to be found far away from people, out in the great solitude, and it is not found in play but only through suffering. Solitude and suffering open the human mind, and therefore a shaman seeks his wisdom there. Igjagarjuk Caribou Eskimo. We should be as water which is lower than all things, yet stronger even than the rocks. Black Elk. By your thinking and desire you will be brought here again and again until you awaken to the sacred light within yourself and every being. Dianiyawahu. The body is a robe stitched together by desire, thought, and action. Cherokee Elder. Now is the result of all our yesterdays and the basis of all our tomorrows, so why don't you just pay attention to what's happening now? Great-grandfather Eliyawahu, so live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Wabasha. For after all the great religions have been preached and expounded, or have been revealed by brilliant scholars, or have been written in books and embellished in fine language with fine covers, man, all men, is confronted with the great mystery. Luther standing bare. No one is going to influence my soul unless I'm the one who's going to. I'm the only one who's responsible for that soul. If I don't do the right thing here, I'm at fault. No one is going to bring you up to your grave but yourself. Alex Saluskin Luisino. We all know that we came here naked and without possessions, and that we will leave without anything. Dianiyawahu. Do not grieve. Misfortunes will happen to the wisest and best of men. Death will come, always out of season. It is the command of the Great Spirit, and all nations and people must obey. What is past and what cannot be prevented should not be grieved for. Misfortunes do not flourish particularly in our lives, they grow everywhere. Big Elk, Omaha. It is good to have a reminder of death before us, for it helps us to understand the impermanence of life on this earth, and this understanding may aid us in preparing for our own death. He who is well prepared is he who knows that he is nothing compared with Wakantanka, who is everything, then he knows that world which is real. Black Elk. There is no death. Only a change of worlds. Chief Seattle Suquamish. Let my soul be draped in various flowers, let it be intoxicated by them, for soon must I weeping go before the face of our mother. Aztec.